Hello. This will be a shorter video than I expected, and the reason for that is the material is longer than I expected. With that said, the title, The Line of Boethius, the Figurality of Auerbach. What am I talking about? Well, I've enrolled in an Introduction to Philosophy class, and in that class, I have begun to think about the pre-Socratic philosophers. Who are they? They are a group of individuals who each decided that it was worthwhile to plumb the depths of the passing phenomena, passing creation, what filtered through the eyes, around the ears, what they could smell, what they could taste, what they could walk around. And they tried to discover, that is to say, they tried to make a case for, in other words, give an account to what remained after all their abstractions. Now, I use the word abstraction. The last third of this video's title is a talk on analysis. So more than talking about pre-Socratic philosophers, I want to talk about analysis. And more to the point of analysis, I want to ask myself, is this a technique? If so, is there or should there be a history of the technique? Are there competing histories for the technique? And who are the proponents, exponents, detractors from said techniques? And more generally, how do we distinguish analysis from synthesis? Is one to be preferred over the other in all cases? Is one to be preferred over are my frames off slightly? I don't think so. They look off. Maybe it's the way I'm sitting. I think they are. My goodness. No, they're not. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't know. At any rate, there we go. I think that helped. I have my head tilted. That's probably why. At any rate, where was I? Pre-Socratic philosophers to the difference between synthesis and analysis. Boethius is important in this discussion about whether or not there is a technique to analysis, because he claimed in one of his commentaries on Porphyry, and Porphyry made a commentary on Aristotle, namely Aristotle's categories. So you will see in this discussion of what abstraction is, what analysis is, a constant, if not continual, reference to other people referencing each other. Why? Man, it's really bugging me that this frame is off. I don't think I'm going to edit the video, but my goodness. Oh well. The point Boethius made in the second commentary was that he was making up space for what was not included in Porphyry's discussion on Aristotle's categories. So already we begin to see, before we scratch the surface of analysis, that these commentators on original sources are making claims to a space that was not covered by their predecessor. And that is important to note, because it is a claim before they make the claim about the content. And if we step back and reflect on that, I think we see how knowledge is generated, at least knowledge as transmitted orally or through written material. How is it transmitted? Well, it is divided up by people saying, oh, I see where you were going there, and I also see where you stopped. and let me take it from here. That is the movement of scholarship, going across the waves and scuds of anything you could say, cliche or otherwise, about the refrigerator over there and whether or not it is well below room temperature and how we get there from room temperature. Oh, thermodynamics and heat transfer and all this stuff. Well, who discovered the transfer of heat? Who put it in formulae? Where did the formulae come from? And who made the case that these mathematical reasonings convert to the transfer of particles from here to there that we now feel as the absence of heat? These things take time, and they also take debate. They take turns of phrases while paying respect to the predecessor's use of language. So already, I sound Heideggerian, perhaps. Already before we talk about analysis, we are analyzing. We find ourselves in the situation situated by a cutting up, that is to say, an analyzing. It's a Greek word, analysis, a cut up, a back cut, a cut before. So truly, the discussion of analysis has been analyzed beforehand before I open my mouth consciously, because I stand or sit here in a chair worrying too much about the frame of my glasses in a tradition. So let that stand. Thank you to whoever is listening. Let this stand as the prolegomena, the opening cry or shout of what I think I am talking about when I'm trying to talk about analysis and abstraction. One, so here are some takeaways before I go. This will be a short video. Takeaways. Analysis is a technical word, and because it is a technical word, it has a tradition behind it. And a tradition behind it has people along the way who read each other, heard each other, saw each other, noted similarities that were not worth repeating or were worth repeating to embellish or to simply re-experience. And there's nothing wrong with any of those three things. But some of those in the tradition saw where the thing stated had some room for more statement. Now, the tricky part of a tradition is how to separate the wheat from the chaff, because some of those rooms might well stay empty and not be considered a potential barn to fill up all the yield of this crop of the associations I'm able to make when I survey the sources. Because you remember in the gospel where that man said, "Oh, now soul, take and rest. You filled your barn with the surplus yield of the ground." And the creator of the universe said, "Fool, your soul is required of you this night. Who will get all of that?" I know I'm taking that parable out of context, but I'm using it to talk about tradition. Specifically, tradition that is recorded, written down. And when you have commentators not rehashing, rehearsing, saying the same thing, but saying some of the same things and adding more. Is the more justified? And how do we know if and when it should be applied as justification? All of this talk before the talk about analysis presupposes analysis. So I cannot simply define analysis in a vacuum and say, there it is in the vacuum. Here I am outside analysis in the world. We have to be more thoughtful and patient than that. Okay, I will call this part one later. Thank you. I will call this part one later and maybe make some more in the not too distant future, perhaps every Monday. I don't know yet. don't want to make a commitment I cannot fulfill. Let's be patient, one analyzable thing at a time. You have a good week and be well.